Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost that time of the year. The grass is being cut. The lines are being drawn on the base paths. Opening day is right around the corner. And with that being said, you know who we got on the podcast to talk baseball with us, our Jeff Passan, our Tim Kirchin, our Buster Olney, the one, the only, back for the 11,000th time, Hunter Simboli. What's going on, Hunter, man? Welcome back to the podcast. How you doing, partner?
What's going on? Hope you guys are doing well. I got to tell you, I am ecstatic that we are just 3 days away from opening day. And, would have been 4 days ago, but, we're here. We're getting baseball as a full season, and I am grateful and I am ready.
Amen. Amen to that.
Yeah. Hunter, before we even get started, I want to go ahead and apologize for the other two podcasters, the two bros' behavior last week, because they were overly ecstatic about the fact, and they were just screaming out the fact that Dean Kennefic was the best guest that we had on the show. And I was like, what about Hunter? That's my boy. That's our boy, Blue.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. It's
Never said that. Never said that.
I took some offense to that, but, it's all good. No hard feelings.
Never said that.
Because Dean did offer us courtside seats to a Villanova game. So
it was a knee-jerk reaction to that. That's what happened. It was a knee-jerk reaction.
So, Hunter, are you going to hook us up with national championship tickets this coming year for college football since you went?
All right, he might be a better guest than me.
All right,
I don't know if I can pull that off.
But man, Hunter is so glad to have you back, man. It's one of those things for the listeners out there. We actually talk on the regular now. He's pretty much an honorary sports pro. We're glad to have you, man. Absolutely. And this is best time of the year. We talk of baseball. We got WrestleMania, all the things. It's
Astros coming up.
Everything's going on. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it, shall we? All right, so here we go. We got the top MLB top 100 players of right now. We're not going to go through all 100 players. We ain't got that kind of time. So we're going to discuss players 10 through 1. Fellas, Hunter, what do you think? Did they get it right? Was somebody ranked too high? Is somebody overrated, underrated? What say you?
I like how the list is titled top 100 players right now, when 5 or 6 of these guys didn't even play a full season last year. I'm just going to start with that.
Let's mention who they are, because so the people who are listening know what we're talking about.
Right.
Shohei Ohtani was number 1, and he was the MVP last year, correct? Right, of the American League. Yeah.
And I understand why he's number 1. I'm not going to say that he shouldn't be number 1, because he does both sides of pitching and batting extremely well. Like, he's very good at both. I think he's a better batter personally, but I understand why he's number 1 there. Absolutely.
And Mike Trout barely played last year, and he's number 2. And Fernando Tatis is going to be out till middle of the summer, or 2 months, I think what it is, and he's number 3 with the Padres. He's going to be out for a month minimum. I'm certain of, right?
I heard it was at least late May, early June, and then
that's
I
what
think
I was
they'll
thinking.
reevaluate.
Okay, and Juan Soto comes in at number 4.
Machine.
He is a machine. Bryce Harper is number 5. It's hard to believe. I remember seeing Bryce Harper on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was a teenager. Now I feel like he's been around forever.
Yep.
And he had he was the MVP last year. I didn't even hardly even see Bryce Harper last year. It was like that was like one of the quietest MVP campaigns I think I've seen.
It's like he flew under the
radar.
radar.
That at all.
And I was like, him? Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, I was like, you sure?
I guess it's because the Phillies didn't really jump off the page at anyone last year. They kind of underperformed. I think they were in contention early in the season, and it's kind of faded. So then you got Mookie Betts from the Dodgers. Now there's a high-profile guy who had a pretty good year last year. But again, you say he missed time with injuries last year. And then Jacob deGrom missed. I mean, he was on a historic pace. He's on number 7. That was our second pitcher on there.
Mhm.
Vlad, number 8, Vladimir Guerrero. Was he hurt last year as well?
If he was, it wasn't long. Personally,
It wasn't
I don't
long.
No,
think.
I think he played most seasons. He had 48 home runs, so he would have had to have been in for most of that. And here's where B Live gets a little sensitive because Freddie Freeman has jumped ship. He's going to the Dodgers, and he's at number 9. It's going to be interesting to see him in that stacked lineup. And then Ronald Acuna Jr., who was the most important piece of the entire Braves franchise, he went down, and they won the World Series without him. So he's back. That's like the Braves getting a bonus for champion or getting this guy added to their roster this year. So those are the year 10. Like you said, Hunter, a handful of those guys didn't even get to play a big chunk of the season last year.
Yeah, I personally, if I'm looking at the list and everyone's healthy, I personally don't see anything wrong with it. But with the list at this very moment right now, I think personally that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should be higher. I think Jacob deGrom, yeah, he was on an historic pace, but because he was injured for a good portion of last year, and he's going to be injured for the first, I want to say at least
First month,
at the very,
weeks.
very least, a month and a half, just because he has to be reevaluated. And he's not even picking up a baseball. He's going to be out for at least 2 months. That's just a given. Based on that, I think you actually need to back up deGrom a bit. That's not saying that he's not he's probably the greatest starting pitcher in the MLB when healthy. There's no competition, I don't think personally. And one of the best is right next to him, Max Scherzer, and I don't think he's going to be ready for opening day either. And then he's
hurt too.
Yeah, and I think Mookie is a really weird case where, yeah, he kind of had an off year last year, but in his standard, but he had a pretty good year, all things considered, and I think he'll bounce back handsomely. Bryce Harper, the reason why he had one of the more quiet seasons, but still, like, not necessarily quiet seasons, I shouldn't say, one of the more unnoticed seasons and one MVP was because that MVP race, I think, was a lot tighter than what it was in the AL. I think, yeah, you were hearing his name from time to time, but he wasn't being featured a whole lot on ESPN because it was all Shohei Ohtani, it felt like.
Yes. It was Shohei mania.
Which is fine. I'm not going to knock it because, listen, if you could play one side of the game well, you're a really good player. If you could play both, obviously, hasn't been seen in quite a long time, especially at the level that he's competing at. So, I mean, I really don't have a whole lot of problem with this list. I really don't. I think the main one for me is I think Vlad should go up at least 1 or 2 spots. That's my personal opinion.
I like to move Acuna up to probably the 5 spot.
Yeah.
On this list because I think Bryce Harper, as great as a year he had last year, he hit 309 and he had not had a high average like that in years prior. It was like power, homer, and he hit 309 last year. And maybe that's why we don't see the highlights of him as much, because he wasn't knocking the ball. He had 35 home runs, don't get me wrong, but that seems to be his MO. And I think at this level of the game, I like Acuna better than Mookie Betts as well. That's just me, but I'm big on Acuna. I've seen him play, and how some guys you're like, man, that's my guy. That's the guy I go with. I like him a lot. I kind of think I would rank Trout ahead of Ohtani. I mean, just because of the pitching, I think Ohtani's getting bonus points for being a pitcher. I really do. But I think Trout's a better player.
Yeah, if we're ranking Ohtani just on his hitting performance, I think he's still a top 10. Then he was pretty close to the league leader in home runs, wasn't he? Like top 5.
Yeah. Yeah, he had 46 home runs and 26 steals. So I mean, he did damage with the bat. Like, he wasn't like the best pitcher, but he was a decent enough pitcher. That's why they gave him. He does get bonus points. I think he's getting bonus points because of his pitching.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think that's a part of his game. I think you just kind of have to count it, which makes, like I said, I'm not agreeing with any of it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say is I think if Bryce Harper, like, say if he was second place in MVP voting, I think he'd be in like the 9 spot. Because he won MVP, I think that also gained him a couple spots. That's how I interpret it. Because if you're the NL MVP, you're gonna be in the top, top 5. I think you have to be, unless there's so much more competition in the AL.
Well, it's one of those things where this list is designed to individualize the players, and so that's why I mean, like Shohei Ohtani, both sides of the offense and pitching, he's up there. But then it's one of those things where what does that equate to team wins? And so that's why you look at a guy like Freddie Freeman that's at the 9 spot. I don't think Freddie Freeman's a top 10 player. I think that he's very serviceable. I think he's very. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way because I can see Scott stewing right now. The fact that I'm not hating on Freddie Freeman.
No, I'm not stewing. I'm kind of in agreement with you.
I don't think he's a top 10 player. I think Ronald Acuna was on his way. He had an MVP season before he got hurt last season. Yeah. I think he has a much bigger upside, and so I'm very certain that we're going to see the best of him this year. I want to say that, like Mookie Betts, I think just because of his star appeal, gives him a little bit more of what he is. Because I don't like he's. According to this list right here, he's the best Dodger on the team, and I don't think that's true at all. I think their pitching should have some players a little bit higher than Mookie Betts on here. But then again, especially when it says right now,
yeah,
like that's like yes, he only played 122 games, but his numbers even during those 122 games didn't jump off the charts. Mm-mm. And trust me, I'm a Mookie Betts fan because not only is he a great baseball player, he's also a great bowler, and I like bowling. I said what I said. Scotty D, I'm like, this is episode 150. You know me by now.
I know. I know.
Like,
that's the second time you brought up bowling when it came to Mookie Betts.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Hey, oh my goodness. Somebody said that.
Pete Weber.
No. I'm talking about WrestleMania. Hey, what is his name? Pat McAfee said it when what was his name? When it was Jackass.
Johnny
Knoxville versus Sami Zayn, and Johnny Knoxville had the bowling ball and threw it in between Sami Zayn's legs, and literally Pat McAfee said, "Who do you think you are? I am." I was like, he said that during WrestleMania. I am way off topic right now.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, so we're gonna stop talking. I was gonna watch it later today.
My bad.
You're very much off topic though. So let's stop talking about bowling and WrestleMania bowling balls. As I look at this list, I like Nolan Arenado, who's at 19 on this list. I rank him ahead of Freddie Freeman. I mean, I think Nolan Arenado is a heck of a ball player. Now he's going to have another full season with the Cardinals. I mean, he's all those years in Colorado and got acclimated to a new team. I don't know. I think he's fantastic defensively and with the stick.
And now I also get to say that one person on this list that I rank ahead of Freddie Freeman, he came in at number 26, Matt Olson.
Listen,
I was gonna go there.
I love that pickup. I love that for the Braves.
They both suck against lefties. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Freddie Freeman, I think in his MVP year, he averaged like 241 against lefties.
Yeah, that's
some mediocre.
But I like that move so much for the Braves. I think Matt Olson is a heck of a pickup, a heck of a player, at not the higher price tag as Freddie Freeman was going to command. That's basically what happened. The Braves knew that he was pricing himself out, so they went and got this guy instead. And I do not think Braves fans are going to be disappointed once the season starts with getting this guy. No. I mean, let's look at the Braves, our World Series team last year, Braves and Astros. Who do you think has a better chance of going back to the World Series of those two?
Braves.
I agree. I don't
think it's close either, personally. That's just me. I think
losing Carlos Correa has really got to be a big deal for the Astros. That guy's been the heart and him and Altuve, they're the heart and soul of that team for all these years.
Yeah.
And the Astros are slowly eroding. They lost Springer a few years ago. Verlander's hurt. Garrett Cole's gone. but yet I still think they're going to be in the playoffs this year.
I think Seattle is going to dethrone them in that division. I think Seattle looks really good.
Okay.
Seattle looks really good.
Did they pick up Robbie Ray? Is that who they got?
They picked up a bunch of dudes. Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez. They picked up a couple guys that are really good role players and can really maximize their value. I really think that they're in a good spot. I think the Rangers offense is going to be – it's really hard for me to tell with the Rangers because they were so bad.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But with Simeon and Seager going over there, I think that's going to light up their offense. But
but what kind of pitching do they have in Texas?
I don't
That's
think
what I've been
anything.
hearing.
I think they
That's what I
signed
was
like two
hearing.
guys. They signed like two guys. I think I can't remember their names off the top of my head. This was before the lockout, so I kind of have to think back a couple months.
Yeah. Turning our attention to the Dodgers, though, I mean, you look at that team. How do you not pick them to win the World Series? I mean, even their manager, Dave Roberts, ain't the kind of guy that's going to be talking trash at them. He's saying we're going to win the World Series because how can you not look at that lineup? It is so stacked.
They're fully loaded. They got everybody. They're good on all sides of the ball. You got Freddie Freeman, then you got your Mookie Betts, and then everybody else. And it's kind of like, how can you not pick them? How can you not pick them?
They're absolutely loaded, and I know that it doesn't always translate. But this is a team that's already been good for 8 or 9 years and transitioning to, they haven't had to overhaul, they kind of made slow transitions and done it well. I mean, I'd say there's a ton of pressure on them to win the World Series this year with that financial investment into that lineup.
Yeah, they also, what they did in the like 2 days ago or the past couple of days, trading AJ Pollock for Craig Kimbrell. Now they have the closer, and I really don't think there's a hole in that team. There truly is. It's the most complete team I've probably seen in maybe 10 years.
Wow.
And
going into the season, that's I mean, there's nothing that you can look at and say, here's the weakness. Because if you have 4 dudes in the lineup that go into a slump, you got 4 more sluggers to carry the weight. I mean, and like you said, adding Kimbrel, that was a sneaky good move because he was available and nobody else jumped on it.
Yeah. And they traded it was a 1-for-1 trade, which you hardly don't see anymore. But it's an old-fashioned baseball trade. You trade White Sox said, hey, we need an outfielder. Dodgers said, hey, we need a closing pitcher. Even swap. Their payroll or their cap hit for 2022 is pretty close. It's almost exactly the same. So I think it's a good trade for both teams.
I'd say the White Sox are poised to probably sit atop that division again. I think getting a guy. Well, I know it's going to be a rough year probably in Cleveland. All signs point to this as a rebuild, huh, Hunter?
I mean, I don't know. Well, let's talk about the rest of this top or whatever we're talking about, and then I'll dig into the Guardians because I got a couple of things. All
right, so here we go. Before we get to the Guardians, as Hunter mentioned earlier in the group chat, that the Oakland A's are burning it down like Seth Rollins. What in the hell is going on in Oakland? Matt Olson gone, and now what's the other fella's name that just left?
Matt Chapman.
Matt Chapman and Manaea, right?
Yep, Manaea's gone.
Yeah, Manaea's gone. What's going on in Oaktown? What's that? What happened?
I have no idea. I think they're trying to trade everybody because I think they're eventually going to try and move to Las Vegas. No, that you can take that as a joke if you'd like. I was joking, but that actually might be a legitimate possibility.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know what they're doing. They didn't spend any money in free agency either. They're going to start some AA players up there, man. That's what it feels like they're doing.
But it's Billy Bean. His madness always. I mean, he sees things other people don't see. On a limited budget.
But eventually, that madness got to turn into some results.
Well, I mean, they're postseason almost every year.
I don't understand why they had a good core, and I think what might have been is once they didn't re-sign Matt Olson, they're like, all right, we're gonna rip everything off. Mm-hmm. I think that might have been what happened, at least by my perspective, because they have Jesus Luzardo is a really good up and coming starting pitcher. You got a couple other guys that are Caprillion, I think, is on the roster still. They've traded so many people I don't remember. Yeah. He's okay. Let's Murphy, the catcher. He's up and coming too. He's a good power hitter. A couple other guys. Their bullpen was actually incredibly solid as well last year. They've always been a playoff caliber team. So I think Olsen kind of just tore everything down. That's what I kind of realized as we're talking about it.
Yeah, that could be. Like I said, you never know what Billy Bean's looking at, but usually he turns it around fairly quickly. If this is a rebuild, then he's putting together pieces for a run next year. Who knows? But let's go to the other coast for a minute, because the last several years, the AL East has seen like sort of a rotation in the postseason with the Rays, who've been like the upstarts, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. Is this going to be the year? Because I think it might be where the Toronto Blue Jays actually sort of sneak right to the top. Because I remember last year on opening day thinking this team could be good enough to contend, and they lingered again for a while, but were not able to break through the top. But you got to figure, I mean, Vladimir Guerrero is he's like 23, 24 years old. He's 23. Super young, coming into his own. Obviously capable of hitting 50 home runs. You got Bichette, who's capable probably of 30 home runs and hitting 300. And they added a couple pitchers, guys who aren't really considered big names, but are quality starting pitching. I mean, that's always the tough division. Orioles are going to be bad. We'll just say that the Orioles are.
You didn't have to mention that.
they're down at the Orioles are going to be kind of hanging around with the Guardians and my Pittsburgh Pirates as far as like bottom feeders. Oof. But the Blue Jays, they seem poised, I think, to actually be in the conversation this year. Because honestly, I don't trust the Yankees as much as I love the Yankees. I don't trust them. It seems like they're swapping relievers, they're swapping catchers. Yeah, they got older by getting Donaldson. I don't trust the Yankees, and I don't trust Garrett Cole because his spin rate's all goof without the spider tack. That's their big pitching investment. I think the Blue Jays have a chance this year.
Yeah, I personally, when I look at that division, I think the most complete, none of them are complete. I'm going to say that right now. I think the most complete team in that division, I think, is Boston. However, I do think the Blue Jays do have a better offense. I think they need to get another reliever or two. That's where I think their weakness is.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think their offense is second to none. I would put it against almost any other offense but the Dodgers. I think the Blue Jays are that good in terms of offense. I'm a big fan of Vladdy, always been. Now, if you want to go over to the Yankees, I have no idea what they're doing. They're getting older. I don't know what the status is on Aaron Judge. I don't think anyone does. And I don't know if he's going to resign. I don't know if we're going to go into another pre-arb. I don't know what he's doing. I think they're getting ready to present him a monster contract. I think that's what's going to happen with him. I don't think he's going anywhere. I would hope so. I think he's a really good player. I think he's really good and right. He's got a strong arm, great bat, strikes out a lot, but who doesn't? The Yankees are such a weird. They've always been a weird team, and it's been like this for the past 3 years, where they just make these weird moves, and somehow they end up kind of working.
Yeah,
I think Anthony Rizzo was a good signing last year.
Mm-hmm. And they re-signed him back. They got him back. They got. It seems like they're going to move Torres to second.
Yeah.
Where does that leave DJ LeMahieu, who's like really your best hitter, and you don't DH a guy like that when you have Giancarlo Stanton as your DH. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of piece all that together. Because Gleyber Torres really was shown to not be a shortstop as much as he is a second baseman. And the Yankees went, and in that same deal, they got I forget the guy's name with multiple names that came from the Rangers, played for stopped for the Twins for 2 days, and he came in that Donaldson deal.
Shoot.
You know who I'm talking about. He's shortstop. He's playing shortstop.
Oh, shortstop. I don't remember. Dude, there's been so much movement with the Yankees that I don't even know who they have anymore. That's like one of the only teams where
but he's a quality shortstop. They did get a shortstop, but my point is, if they're planning on having him be the shortstop and move towards the second, where does LeMahieu fit in? I thought maybe they might let Rizzo walk out the door and LeMahieu's playing first, but they re-signed Rizzo. I mean, it just seems like a bunch of moving pieces with the Yankees right now. They just are signing guys, and I don't trust that. I don't trust the team chemistry in that kind of situation. They did that a few years back during the Carlos Beltran era, where they had him for a couple years, and and Greg Bird playing first base, and it just didn't seem like anything meshed. But I feel like the Blue Jays can mesh, and the Red Sox as well, as you said. And the Red Sox, who did they just sign? Somebody they signed. It was Trevor
Chris
Story.
Sale. I forgot that Chris Sale is actually going to be out for a month though, or a month or two. So that might be actually kind of big. He has got a rib issue.
Well, he'll be back there for the bulk of the summer, seemingly, and he sat a good deal.
They just signed Trevor Story. I know you
Trevor Story. Yeah. Yep.
All right, Hunter, moving right along. Opening day is coming up. The Guardians. What you think? What are your expectations, predictions? How do you feel about the Guardians with opening day right around the corner?
I think Scott said it kind of pretty apparent that Chicago is going to lead that division. I'm not going to say I disagree with that. I agree with that. But I think that there is going to be some fun moments for this year for the Guardians. You kind of have a couple new guys that are coming up that made that 28-man roster now for the first month with Stephen Quain, Connor Pilkington, and the backup catcher, Brian Lavastida, I think is how you say it. And I think Stephen Kwan is going to be great. Is he going to start? I don't know. Personally, I don't know what Tito's plan. I know what Tito's plan, whatever his plan is, it's going to work some way, shape, or form. I've already mentioned that he's one of the best coaches in the MLB. I'm going to stick to that. I think he's the best in the AL. I think there's not a whole lot of not a whole lot of competition, but that's just my opinion on it. Their roster to me is extremely interesting because they're very strong. They have a very strong starting rotation and a very strong back end of the bullpen, right? With Class A, Karen Chak, who's actually hurt right now. And I personally think that you need to put Nick Sandlin as the seventh inning guy. I think he's lights out when he was healthy. Granted, he missed the last 3 months of the year, I believe, with I want to say shoulder fatigue. Mm-hmm. And then you look, I think obviously the main weakness for them is the outfield. You have Miles Straw, who's locked down center field and will be there for a couple of years. And then their corner outfielders, I worry. I really wanted them to pick up a big righty or a big lefty to kind of put in left or right. But I think they're going to rock with Mercado and Zimmer. I think the reason why is because they're both out of options. So if they get sent down, it's sayonara. So I think this is a similar situation to what happened last year with Jake Bowers. He was the starting first baseman, and because he had no options, then he was sent down because he was batting $130, something weird. Whoa. And Bobby Bradley came in, and I think he's growing too. And then I think their middle infield and infield is very good. You have Bobby Bradley, Ernie Clement, and Yu Chang kind of locking down, Bobby Bradley and Yu Chang kind of locking down first. I think they're going to platoon. I think Bobby Bradley is probably going to take that spot mostly. And then Clement and Owen Miller, who are going to be, I think, utility guys. And then you have Ahmed Rosario, who is trying to play outfield, but I think he is going to be the starting shortstop for this year. And then, obviously, the best player by a wide margin, Jose Ramirez at third. And you have Hedges. I'm going to forget to mention Austin Hedges, but,
I'm looking forward to seeing this Ramirez playing, but Hunter, I haven't heard of most of those guys before, man. The Guardians, this sounds like a full-fledged rebuild right now. But as you mentioned, they have the right manager to guide them through something like that.
Yeah. I understand why people are thinking it's a rebuild, that it makes 100% sense on paper. But if it were a rebuild, I would think that they would move off half of their starting rotation. Their starting rotation, I think, is going to be top 5 in the MLB.
Really?
Yes, that's what's going to carry them this year. You have Shane Bieber, who is obviously, is one of the best pitchers in the MLB. And then from there, it's a bunch of young guys that are going to be very good. Aaron Savale is sneakily a top 15 guy.
Yeah, I've heard good things about him, but you don't think they'll move off of Bieber, try to trade him off and
Well, we
bring-
just locked down Emmanuel Clase on a 5-year contract, a very team-friendly contract, a 5-year $20 million, which makes me believe that I think they're going to try not necessarily do the same for Bieber, but I think they're going to make an effort for Bieber, the same as they're going to do for J-Ram. I really don't think they're going to try and rebuild. I think if they're in a winning position at the All-Star break and they know what they're missing in the outfield, I think they're going to make a big splash. But obviously, with everything that's kind of going on with that team, obviously I could be wrong. I'm not going to say that I'm right. It could happen, and I think it will. I don't think it's a rebuild, though. I think the back end of their bullpen,
Wow.
their starting
Okay.
rotation is too good. I really do.
Well, one thing.
And Framil Reyes, I didn't even mention him. DH.
I want to mention something that Scott will appreciate this, because the Pittsburgh Pirates are no longer sitting at the bottom of payroll spending. Guess who sits at the bottom currently right now? Hunter has his head down because he already knows. The Cleveland
Baltimore.
Guardians.
Oh, Baltimore.
Oh, I'm not according to what I'm looking at. Baltimore's spending 29.4. Cleveland Guardians at 29.1. This is according to BetMGM.com. So it could
Okay.
be.
I was going by that graphic that was put up by what's his name? Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson put that graphic up a couple weeks ago. I was going by that.
In short, I think the Guardians are probably going to be second or third in that division. I think they do have a chance at the wild card. Their pitching is going to carry them. That's my take.
Wow.
That's my last take on them. I really do. I think they're going to get a wild card spot.